Well folks, can you believe it's the 1st of August 2025? Where has this month gone? It's been pretty eventful for me, apart from using these vintage Hoover cleaners. I also got a new carpet, some of you will know, that I'm kneeling on now. Still pleased with it. So far, touch wood, it's not been peed on by any of the dogs. There's been a solid which I whipped up quickly, left a tiny mark, but I used some Sebo Duo P and removed it that way. I don't want to wet clean this. I'm holding on for as long as I can before it gets its first shampoo. So fingers crossed it's going to stay looking nice. But yeah, still pleased with it. It shows every single mark. It shows the dog's paw prints, shows every little bit, but I still prefer it to the old plush pile Saxony. Oh dear. Right, well, I'm going to be rather sad to see these cleaners go. Obviously, they're not going anywhere. They're very important parts of my vintage Hoover collection, much treasured machines. One I preferred to the other. The cleaner that I absolutely loved using and would use on a more regular basis is the Senior / convertible. A fantastic cleaner. It liked my old carpet. Not many cleaners did. It loves my new carpet. This is a fantastic vacuum cleaner. Yes, it looks old-fashioned. It's from 1973. It's an old girl, but it works superbly. Now, obviously, when I got this, it was almost new in the box. It'd hardly been used. It's not like it's been heavily used since 1973. The suppressor did blow on it when I first got it, which I removed. It's got an LED headlight, so it runs cooler. All in all, it's a brilliant machine for carpets. I didn't attempt it on hard floor, that's where the Conquest came in, but for carpet cleaning, brilliant. It did shake the foundations of my house using it upstairs on the wooden floors. Concrete floor under this carpet and underlay, but upstairs, under a very thin underlay and a very thin carpet, is basically chipboard. That's what they put in modern houses, not even floorboards. So you could really tell when someone was vacuuming. Well, it was me. So I couldn't hear what it sounded like from downstairs, but I'm sure it made a racket. So it's been used mainly downstairs. I've used it upstairs. I've not used it in my bedroom. I don't have the floor space at the moment to use a cylinder Senior. I could use a cylinder, yes. We'll have a look at it. We'll show the dirt in the bag. I did upgrade it slightly with a better filtration bag, not a Hoover one, but it certainly filters better. And to be honest, there's no musty smell coming out of this. It's got that nice vintage, that homely, warm vintage smell that you get from old cleaners, but it wasn't a dusty, dirty smell that I get with many modern machines. But then it's only been used for a month, and part of that month we didn't have a carpet down in the living room. We just had, the concrete floor, which is where the Conquest came in. I used the Conquest on the hard floors. I'm going to have a look at the belt. It's still working. The belt has survived the whole month. It's starting to go. Now I think I'm not sure if it's a genuine Hoover one. It's an older belt. The belts I would avoid, folks, are the belts you can buy on Amazon, and anything that's new and it's got like candy packaging, Hoover candy packaging, and if the belt looks shiny, they tend to be absolutely useless. They shouldn't be making them and selling them for these vintage machines, because I've had those shiny belts and they've snapped within minutes, and that's both Senior and Junior belts. So if you can get new old stock, some people have said, oh, the rubber perishes. Well, yes, it can, but in my experience, if the belt is more of a matte finish, if it's not shiny, and if it's an older, even if it's non-genuine, they tend to last longer. Now this one, I did open this up halfway during the month and I saw it was starting to crack, and I don't think this has got much longer before it does go. I did halfway through the month polish up the beta bars as well, because these do get black with use. No matter how clean your carpets are, the constant beating of them, they get a black residue, sort of sticky residue on them. So I just used Duraglit, the Duraglit that's in a tub, the Duraglit wadding, just a little bit of that, and you know, I rubbed them clean and then buffed them up. I did that before using this on my new carpet. So I think the belt will last. I will use this until the belt goes, but when I store it away, and I'm going to leave it like that now, when you're storing an upright cleaner away, if the belt can be removed, slip it off the spindle, because if you're storing it and you're not using it for months on end, you'll find that when you come to use it, the belt might have stretched and it's not going to be as effective. So I'm just seeing if it does say Hoover on this. I did manage to find a pack of 2 genuine Hoover belts. They look like they were from the 70s or early 80s, that sort of packaging. And I think they have Hoover printed on them. My door's opening for some reason. It's quite blowy here today. But yeah, can you see, folks? It's splitting. If I pull that hard enough, I'll probably break it. I won't. I'm going to use it again, and when it breaks in use, then I will replace it. So yeah, it's lasted okay. What I would, another thing to stop your belt from splitting or breaking entirely, don't leave your cleaner running unattended on a carpet. Keep it moving all the time. You don't have to go, oh, what's that? Oh, I think I might put a dirty mark on the carpet. Oh, God. That's probably come off the belt. I'll just, a little bit of SIBO powder on that. We'll be fine. Might have to oil these wheels at some point. But yeah, I've really liked this machine, using this cleaner. It's just so nice to use. It's just, yeah, compared to using a modern machine, a Shark or a Dyson, I mean, there's just something about these old Hoovers only some people will appreciate. If you're watching my videos, you might appreciate what I'm talking about. It's like people who like vintage cars, I suppose. They like, you know, driving their vintage cars at the weekend or on nice days. And for me, using a vintage vacuum cleaner is a bit like that. Because as much as I've enjoyed using these cleaners, I don't think I'd want to use them all the time. I'm fortunate enough to have lots and lots of vacuums, so I chop and change. I'll go vintage one day, modern the next, corded, cordless, bagged, bagless, robotic, whatever I feel like using and what's easy to grab. But because these are vintage cleaners, I am a lot more careful with them than I would be with a modern machine that I don't care about. So if I'm using a Shark, a Dyson, a SIBO, anything that's modern that you can still buy especially, I'm not going to take particular care. I mean, I look after all my vacuums. I don't, you know, bang them into furniture and get paint on them and abuse them and run over the mains cable. I'm always very careful with my things, not just vacuums. But you have to be extra careful, especially with the Conquest. We'll talk about the Conquest in a minute, when we've had a look at the dirt. Now this is a bottom fill, so it might be a bit messy when we take the bag off. Let's ease it out. But these bags, they're SIBO, they're genuine SIBO. These are for the BS36, BS360 versions. You just have to cut the cardboard collar off the top of these. And I find them easier to fit than a fleece bag. And, you know, it's absolutely spotless inside here. It's going to make a bit of a mess when I take the bag off. Come on, there we are. Try and avoid too much muck coming off. There we go. I'll vacuum that off. So, there's quite a bit of dirt in here. I'm going to empty it out. I know I shouldn't be doing it on this carpet. I should be doing it on an offcut of this carpet, but it's going to get dirty at some point. Let's have a look. I'm putting my hand in. It's my dirt. Wow. Limey. Oh, look at that pretty coloured layers. Now, some of these colours, I'm sure, are from one of my new rugs. I've got 2 new wool rugs. You've seen one of them in a video that looks quite 90s, 80s/90s. I've also got a more mid-century design rug in my bedroom now. So they do shed quite a lot of fibres. So this red and this green, crikey, that's a lot. And probably most of it. There's also, look, there's that's either for my old carpet or my new one. It's probably most of those are for my new carpet when it was fitted. Obviously there was bits left. There's we've also got some lentils from previous demonstrations and lots of gritty material. That's where the beta bars come in. So pretty good. There's still more dirt in there. And this triple layered bag, you know, on the paper layer on the outside, it is still pretty clean. Most of the fine stuff has been trapped by the 2 layers. So a great improvement on the single layered paper bags that you would get with these machines. Some people want to be authentic and just only use original Hoover bags, and I tend to like to use the original bags and original spares if I can. But when you can make an improvement, it's worth doing, and this is an improvement. These you don't even have to get genuine SIBO, just a multi-level filtration SIBO copy bag. But these have always been pretty good for paper bags. So very good. I will just pop that. No, I won't. I'll leave it off. In fact, I'll pick all this up using the Conquest, but we'll see what the Conquest has managed to pick up anyway before I clean all this mess up. Now, the Conquest. It was a deluxe machine of its time. It was a top-of-the-range Hoover cleaner. It's not very convenient to use. It doesn't have very good manoeuvrability. It moves better on this carpet, but on the previous carpet it was quite an effort to pull along. It's okay on a hard floor, and when I didn't have any carpet down it was fine for that, although I was very careful with it. I was scared of scratching it up at the bottom. I hope I haven't. Let's take off the Hoover Flex double stretch hose. I think it survived July without getting too scratched up, but we've just got this tiny, quite poor quality swivel caster and 2 little wheels on the back of these skids, so not very manoeuvrable at all. I think a Constellation would be more convenient. In fact, I believe this has got a Constellation motor in it and similar suction to a Constellation. So if I was going to repeat another vintage vacuum of the month, I would probably use a Junior and a Constellation. The Constellation that I was thinking of using is still in this mandarin blue colour scheme. It's a 70s machine, and it basically has the same toolkit, more or less, as the Conquest. So it has, the later versions had the flip over floor tool. This was no good on my old carpet. It's okay on this carpet, as you might have seen when I first got this new carpet fitted. But I didn't really like it on hard floors either. It just seemed to sort of drag a bit on a hard floor. I'm not sure. I didn't really enjoy using it on a hard floor, so I went into my stocks and bought this out, the wall and floor brush, that you actually still got bits stuck to it. You actually got this brush with a Hoover Senior toolkit, and I found this was better in my experience on a hard floor. So I didn't really use the flip over floor tool much. I did use the other tools though. I used the crevice tool. I did down the sides of my sofa with that. And I've used this. I do like this classic design Hoover all-purpose nozzle with the rubber teeth. heavily used versions of this, the rubber teeth would wear down. They are good at pet hair. They're quite good at sort of grooming the upholstery or the stair carpeting. So I do like that nozzle. And then I have used, it's still attached, I have used the very soft dusting brush. So this was mainly for above floor cleaning. I did clean my stairs with it a few times, the hard floors, and I did use the other tools. But because this is such a rare vacuum, especially in this condition, this is almost brand new condition. And most of the ones I've seen, when they very rarely crop up on eBay, they've had a repair to the handle or the handle is broken. So I was very wary of lifting this up. Occasionally I diced with death and did lift it. Now don't do it in this video. If I did lift it briefly, I lifted it right near this part here, and it was just briefly lifting it up. There's quite a lot of weight for this handle to hold, to support. So I can understand why, especially if you lift it towards the end, I can understand how that would break. And I didn't want that to happen. I would have been devastated. Imagine me carrying this up the stairs and the handle breaking, this toppling down the stairs onto my hard floor in the hall. Oh, I would have been absolutely devastated. I know it's a thing, but you know, it's a precious thing. So I did carry it most of the time. I lifted it using this hook thingamajig. This is what you'd use to hang the machine on the wall, which I never would do. Even carrying it like that, I was still wary. The best way of carrying this anywhere would be to like carry it with both hands. So not convenient. It's hard to pull along, the shape of it. But you know, it's the same era as the Senior, and it was nice to use two machines from that era. Wonder what the exhaust filter looks like. Pretty clean, but I did put a HEPA bag in here, didn't I, if you remember? And we're going to have a look at what this has picked up. It won't have picked up as much as the Senior, obviously, but it should have picked up a fair bit. Let's try and get, I think that goes on the top there. Oh, does it? Yeah. Put that filter back. And then this grill. But yes, as lovely as it is to look at, it's not lovely to use. As I said, for convenience, a Constellation, a nicely working, a well floating, well serviced Constellation would have the same, I would say it's the same, it would have the same performance as this, but be a lot more convenient. If your Constellation floats well, it's, you know, it's a lot easier to pull along than a traditional cylinder vacuum. Right, before I show you vacuum of the month, we will, for August, let's have a look at the dirt in the dust bag. So take off, ooh, crikey. That's unusual how that's, look at that folks. Look at that. Let's carefully take it out. So again, this will have had much better filtration than the single lead paper bag that you would normally fit in this. But obviously, apart from fitting a cut down HEPA bag, we have another layer of filtration in this cloth bag. Oh, I put in a little air freshener in there, cotton flower. I can still smell it. So that's still spotless. But you could use this as your only bag back in the day. If you didn't have any paper bags, the cleaner could have been used with a cloth bag. But then the felt filter would have got dirtier. But everything, it's all clean. So when it comes to vintage machines, you know, adding better filtration bags sort of upgrades the cleaner, gives it a better filtration. You could add a better filter to the exhaust, I suppose, as long as you're not restricting the airflow. Because back in the day, people weren't bothered, on the whole, about air filtration. Obviously, the very early Hoover cleaners just had a cloth bag, which let a lot of fine dust through. And then as things progressed, filtration became an issue. But I think it was probably the 80s it started to become a thing, and then more into the 90s. And of course now everyone's saying HEPA this, HEPA that. Even a cheap Chinese vacuum will claim to have HEPA filtration. But this is quite a lot. This was empty. So when I add this to the dirt the Senior has picked up, that is quite a lot of dirt to pick up in just a month. So I'm getting my hands right in there because it's my dirt. A lot of fibrous material, I can't believe it. Again, there's offcuts either from the old carpet, a bit of both I think. Look at it, crikey. I'm really surprised. Both the bags on these machines were new, they were empty. But yeah, some of this is definitely from the new rug. I can't remember vacuuming the new rug with this much. It's amazing what that's picked up. I can't believe that. That is very surprising. There's some more lentils and other bits that have sort of found their way into the bag from some demos I did this month. Look. That's pretty good. I just hope now that I can clean up all this mess. So I'm going to clean up the mess with the Conquest, get all the big bits up with the Conquest and finish off with a Senior, and then I'll introduce what I'm going to be using for the month of August. So folks, what's going to replace this pair of 1973 Hoovers as vacuum of the month for August 2025? Well, is it going to be this? Is it going to be this Electrolux 330? I bet some of you would love it to be, but sadly, alas, it's not going to be this 1974 Electrolux cylinder vacuum for a couple of reasons. It's spoken for. This is going to a new owner once we've negotiated a price, which is why I've retrieved it from my storage unit. You will be seeing this again. I'm going to do another full demo. I showed you this about 9 years ago, and I'd forgotten just how absolutely mint this 330 is. I've got the 345, which is very, very similar. It's mainly cosmetic changes. The colour of the 345 is that very 70s brown. I think there were a few slight internal changes, but it's more or less the same machine. So I got this out of my storage unit because I promised somebody first refusal on it, and I was using it. I thought, well, I've got to try it out, and I was gaily vacuuming, not quite as gay as some of you, but fairly gaily, meaning happily vacuuming. Gay means happy, well, it used to. So I actually had the butterfly tool out, you see, like this, and I had it opened for upholstery, and I was gaily vacuuming my sofa, not realising at the time until I looked round that smoke was bellowing out of the top grill. I didn't even notice the smell. I managed to capture a bit on film, but not much. I had my camcorder, I tried to get some of it, but I had to have all the windows open and the back door because it filled my living room with smoke. It was the capacitor slash suppressor, the reefer suppressor, that had gone. Now apparently with Electrolux cleaners you don't always have to remove them. Once they've gone, the cleaner's still working. So you can continue to use an Electrolux with a blown suppressor. All you have to do is take the filter out, the exhaust filter, and run it for a bit. And then eventually the smell will go. I have removed it though on this one. But this apparently is what some service engineers used to suggest. Somebody would come and say, oh, my vacuum started smoking, blah, blah. And if it was still turning on and off, then the advice was, well, run it outside for 10 minutes or so until the smell goes, and then it should be fine. But I thought I'll remove it, so I did carefully remove it. It's permanently wired in now. I use some connector, those little connector blocks I've used for the vacs, which it's quite effective. So this is not going to blow anymore. It's not going to have any more smoke coming out of it. So I'm just going to quickly switch on if you want a quick look. But I'm going to be filming a retrospective video of this in 4K, which will be a nice tribute to the machine before it leaves my collection. I'm keeping the 345. That's one of my Electroluxes that I've no plans on selling. But because the 330 is very, very similar, I just need the space, folks. I've got too many vacuum cleaners. I've sold quite a few on Facebook, so follow me on Facebook if you live in the UK, because that's where I'm putting up vacuums for sale. So let's give this Electrolux a quick go. And I have to say, folks, that this cleaner is a lot more convenient to use than the Hoover Conquest. It's a lot more refined, and back in the day, and I would agree with it, this statement, if you wanted an upright back in the day, go for a Hoover. If you wanted a cylinder model, go for an Electrolux. And as much of a Hoover fanboy as I was and still am, not modern Hoover obviously, vintage Hoover, I had to grudgingly admit that Electrolux made some pretty good vacuums. Even the uprights, the 500 series, were pretty good. But you were quite posh. That's not going to rewind. You were quite posh to have an Electrolux 330 or 345 back in the day. There we go. So it's a lovely machine. It smells nice. I did have to wash the exhaust filter, and I've popped in a drop in the bag vacuum freshener inside the dust bag, so it doesn't smell anything like it smelled when the capacitor went. Well, it's got two actually, this model, a large one and a little one. So yeah, you might be disappointed. This is not going to be used for vacuum of the month, but you will see this again. A nice new demo video will be made. I'll demonstrate this on carpet, hard floor, upholstery, curtains, all around the home with the Electrolux 330 before it goes to its new owner. I just thought I'd show you it because I had it out. So it's going to be a bit of an anticlimax for some of you when I wheel in the vacuum I'm going to be using for the month of August. Can you tell what it is yet? Oh, I shouldn't use that impression. It's of a rather disgraced Australian gentleman who was quite big in the 70s, bit of an artist, but he turned out to be quite a nasty piece of work. Here it is, yes. It's the VacMaster, the Henry copy. It's not very like a Henry. It has some similarities to the Henry. It's got a 10-meter cable. It's got the cable rewind similar to a Henry. It's got the tools storage on the back. It's got the parking slot on the back. But it's better than a Henry in some ways. It does have slightly more suction power, and you'll see that in the unboxing video. I've done an unboxing and first look, which you'll see soon. So slightly more suction than a Henry. Better filtration, possibly. It's supposed to have HEPA 13 filtration. It's got more filters than a standard Henry. Plus, it's got this Vesselwerk. This is what Henry or Pneumatic used to supply with the Henry cleaners. This is a much better nozzle than the one supplied now. And some people will say, well, the nozzle before this was better with the metal base plate. But, yeah, this nozzle, in my opinion and experience, is better than the one you can buy. If you've got Henry tools, though, they do fit this machine. I think Henry bags might fit it, although these are the bags that come with, you get 5 bags, 4 spare and 1 to fit. They're quite long, so they're not quite the same shape. So I'm not sure if they are compatible with Henry bags. But certainly the tools are, because I've tried them, 32mm tools. The disadvantage of this, it only comes with a crevice nozzle and a dusting brush. So if I want to clean upholstery or stairs, I will have to add the Henry nozzle, the all-purpose nozzle with the brush attachment. I'll just show you it quickly going. As I said, there will be a separate video on this. It's quite a nice smooth action, the way the cable comes out. And I also like the fact that you can switch the machine on with your foot. So we'll give it a push. That's the suction control, open. That's closed. So it is doable on my new carpet. But I think it's best to reduce the suction slightly. So there you go. That's what I'm going to be using. I don't think I'm going to enjoy using this as much as I've enjoyed using the vintage Hoovers. And to be honest, this wasn't my first choice. I don't think it was even my second or third choice. I won't tell you what my first choice was, because that will eventually be Vacuum of the Month. This one just happened to be the easiest one to grab out of the garage. So that's why I'm using the VacMaster. And also I think it'd be interesting to use just to see how it compares to a Henry. Obviously it's made in China. I don't think the quality of the tools maybe is as good, although saying that, the Vesselwerk nozzle it comes with is superior to the one Henry comes with now. But, you know, it is bigger than a Henry and probably a little bit heavier, certainly than a compact Henry. So it's more in common with a full-sized Henry rather than the compact version. So folks, it really is the end of the video. What do you think to my choice for Vacuum of the Month for August? Do you like it? Do you not? Please comment below. And what do you think of these two vintage 70s beauties that are going to be now carefully polished and packed away for another time? But they will be coming out again. Certainly the Senior will. I just absolutely love using that machine. And the Conquest, possibly that's going into semi-retirement, just for the fact it's so rare, it's so fragile, it's going back in its original box in the back of my wardrobe. But you won't be forgotten, you'll come out again at some point. But yes, I've lumbered myself with this thing for the month. We'll see how I get on, so tune in on the 1st of September. Crikey, I'll be putting up my Christmas tree soon. So tune in on the 1st of September where you'll see what I think of this after a month's use, and then I'll be introducing September's Vacuum of the Month. But of course there will be videos in between. I won't go away for a whole month. You will be seeing an unboxing and brief demo of this. What else have I got coming up? Another modernish Hoover, a very, very, very old Hoover. In fact, the oldest vacuum cleaner I've ever shown you on my channel will be coming up in the next couple of months. Many more cleaners as well. Of course, that Electrolux 330, another video of that. Plus some other cleaners that you haven't seen for many, many years that you're going to see again, but this time in glorious 4K with better lighting, better sound, hopefully, and better demonstrations, because a lot of the old machines you're going to see are machines I'll be selling, and I just want to just say a final goodbye to them before they leave my collection, but at least I'll have them in video form. Right, I really am going now, folks, so thanks. Thumb up if you like the video, and if you haven't subscribed, why not? Please subscribe, and I'll see you all very soon for another video. Bye for now.